It's safe to say that New Orleans International Airport is one of the coolest medium hub airports in the United States. Today, we're going to be conducting an evaluation of the airport, checking out the infrastructure, various facilities, and all of what you need to know about the airport. Let's get started, everybody. Welcome everybody to New Orleans International Airport. So very excited to check out the airport today. This is a really cool one. I've been here a couple times and I can certainly say since they moved over from this old facility to this new one, it has really transpired the entire look at the airport. So today, like I said, we have a bunch to dive into with the airport and just going over the information about the airport. So with that being said, we're not going to waste any further time and go ahead and get started. So actually, New Orleans International Airport came out to be a new airport in the 1940s. They were originally using the New Orleans Lakefront Airport, which is near the water itself, as New Orleans is close to, obviously, the Gulf of America now. But as time continued to progress, they realized that they needed a new field here, and that's exactly what they were able to do here with this airport in 1946 when commercial service began. I actually think it was about 1946, 1947 area. But anyway, the first actual commercial service here at the airport began in the 1959 era. And then by the 1990s, they pretty much got this terminal facility constructed here on the south side of the airport. I'll just show you some various pictures as we go throughout, of course, and credit to all the photographers that weren't me. Graphic illustrations and so forth. They are credited in the corners and whatnot. Stay on the lookout for that. But anyway, New Orleans International Airport identified that they were in need of a new facility, and that's exactly what they did here with, quote, the new MSY. So that's exactly what we have here with the three new concourses that they added, concourse A, B, and C. This is now situated on the north side of the airport between the two runways here. So we have a very adequate facility for the needs of New Orleans. New Orleans has had quite an interesting airline history. Let me see if I can find some here that I can tell you all about here real quick. The wiki actually kind of failed on this one. There's not too much information, but there's a little bit. Starting with a couple aspects here, we have it doesn't go into too much crazy detail on the original service, but National Airlines actually had flights to Amsterdam in 1978, which was very impressive on DC-10s, along with Frankfurt service. And then they also had a flight to Tampa even, which is pretty neat. British Airways also started the London Gatwick service. Thereafter, eventually, British Airways would return to the airport. Northeastern International Airways actually had a small little hub here at the airport in 1984, kind of explaining some of the gate setup down here. They actually made it to 16 destinations, including California and some of the western U.S. by summer 1985. And otherwise, Delta Airlines and Northwest had some services, and they were able to make this FIS in the early 2000s. By 2014, the airport served nearly 10 million passengers. And then as of late, November of 2019 is when they got the plan together, and they opened this new facility, I think sometime in 2022 or 3. It was sometime fairly recently, but here's another illustration of it once again. So the airport currently peaked actually in 2019 with 13.6 million passengers. They have really struggled to get back to that peak, and New Orleans has been a little bit of an interesting setup compared to the other airports in regards to tourism. It's not recovered nearly as fast as some of the other cities. It's also worth noting that Breeze Airways actually has now a pretty large presence at the airport, which has definitely helped as the airport made it to 13.2 million passengers in 2024. So obviously getting close to the 13.6, but hopefully here within the next couple of years, they'll get back to that and get back to those annual numbers that they had. So still a very strong showing. Again, Breeze Airways has really helped, and there's been, I didn't mean to go that many pictures, but there's quite a wide array of air service here, so let's go ahead and talk about it briefly before we get into some of the infrastructure and the other aspects of the airport. First and foremost, Air Canada Rouge has a cool service to Toronto. That's a very cool one. Very glad that they have that. Alaska Air has service to Seattle and Portland seasonally, so those are helpful. Allegiant Air does not have much service here. They did at one time. They even had some flights to places like Tulsa, but they currently have service to Cincinnati, which has been there the whole time. Otherwise, they haven't had any services until this November when they'll finally start a new route to Punta Gorda, Florida, which is a unique one. There's currently no service to Fort Myers, I believe, so this is going to be a helpful addition. And then in addition to that, we're also seeing, or I guess seasonally, Breeze does have it now. American Airlines has all their hub services. There's no major outliers here. They do have Philadelphia, which is awesome, so glad to see that. Most of it is mainline services. Avelo has a seasonal service to New Haven, which is cool, so they join up with the other new launch carrier, Breeze Airways, from a few years ago. Breeze has had quite an establishment here. Most of the routes have worked over time. There's only been a few cuts, but the current routes are Charleston, Northwest Arkansas, Las Vegas will begin on February 4th, and Los Angeles will resume on February 4th. Myrtle Beach, Norfolk, Orlando, Raleigh-Durham, Richmond, Savannah, Tampa, and then Breeze will finally add their first international flights. Cancun out of New Orleans is February 7th. And then that Fort Myers seasonal service, which is pretty unique. Jacksonville, Florida, and Pittsburgh are also served seasonally, so Breeze definitely making their presence known, which is cool. Next up, we have British Airways with that London Heathrow service we discussed. That is the only international transatlantic service, and maybe we'll see a Condor to Frankfurt, route like that at some point. Delta has all kinds of cool routes out of New Orleans. Their most notable one is their recent addition to Austin as they continue to expand that operation. There are flights to both New York airports. Boston's also served, and then even as far as Salt Lake City. Los Angeles is also a part of the lineup too. Frontier has not done too much overtime. They've mainly just had a couple services, mainly Denver, Orlando, and then Philadelphia and Atlanta, but they will finally be beginning new services very soon. Baltimore, Dallas, Detroit, and Houston George Bush will all begin in February. This is mainly just poking at Spirit Airlines, I believe, is the tactic here, as Spirit does have a large operation at New Orleans too that we'll discuss here in a moment. And let me know if you all would like to see this route analysis before or at the end of the main assessment of what we're doing here. I'm definitely open to input. This is the first airport video I've done in quite some time, and I'll explain why at the end. But anyway, just thought that it would be good to go over these routes for some of these airports, especially the smaller ones. Next up, JetBlue has service to Boston, New York, and they will resume a Fort Lauderdale service on November 1st, which is awesome. And then the big two low-cost carriers that have substantial presence at New Orleans, really dominating some of that market share. Southwest Airlines has a long skew of routes. Some of the noteworthy ones that stand out to me include services to Fort Lauderdale, Kansas City, New LaGuardia, San Antonio, and the Long Beach and Raleigh-Durham services. So mainly they're hub airports, but a couple exceptions, so it's pretty cool to see all those. Kansas City is probably the most unique route out of that bunch. Spirit Airlines, like I said, despite their financial troubles over the last several years, has really expanded their New Orleans presence over time. Routes include Atlanta, Baltimore, Cancun, Charlotte, and several of these are new, mainly those ones with the number icon. Chicago O'Hare, Dallas Fort Worth, Detroit, Fort Lauderdale, Houston George Bush, Vegas, Los Angeles, Miami, Nashville, Newark, Orlando, and a couple of really neat international routes they added a couple years ago. San Pedro Sula, Raleigh-Durham, Tampa, Tegucigalpa. You got seasonal services as well to Boston, Columbus, Indianapolis, Memphis, and San Antonio. So yeah, it's cool to see that Spirit's been very successful here, but we'll see what that looks like in the long term. They've not cut many routes despite their really pretty much struggles as of late, so that's nice. Sun Country has a seasonal service to Minneapolis, and then lastly, United has mainly mainline service to all the destinations, actually. Chicago, Denver, Houston, Newark, San Francisco, and Washington Dulles. So United does have a really good share here. And then the top 10 busiest routes, the Atlanta service between Delta Southwest Spirit is the busiest, over 500,000 passengers at 660 in the last year-to-date count that was published. Other routes that are very high, all these are over 250,000 annually. Houston George Bush, Dallas Fort Worth, Orlando, Denver, and Charlotte. And then coming in after that, Dallas Love Field, Houston Hobby for Southwest, Los Angeles, and then Chicago O'Hare. So definitely a good variety of services. So that was a little bit longer than I anticipated, so I'll probably move this segment to the back going forward, but let me know what you all would like to see. I'd be curious to know. Now we're going to start with looking at the infrastructure of the airport. As I mentioned, it was about 2 or 3 years ago when the new concourses opened, and they are really nice. Let's look at this gate map and actually explain it this time, since I didn't talk about it too far in depth. Concourse A is this here on the left. It has 6 gates. This is where the FIS is. This is where British Airways parks. It's pretty cool. Breeze also parks over here as well. Concourse B is this segment right here. This is where American and Southwest park mainly. Southwest has this whole corner over here, and then American has some gates over here, if I'm not mistaken. I believe. I could be wrong on that. Concourse C is where Delta, United, Spirit, and Frontier, I think, parks on A. I think, let's see. I know there's a couple other carriers. Sun Country, I think, is A. JetBlue is A, I believe. And Avelo is probably also A. So anyway, C is mainly Delta and United, and Spirit also flies out of there, and Allegiant's probably on A, and Alaska as well. So, and then Air Canada, of course, with the FIS. So, yeah, Concourse C is over here for Southwest, this is Delta and United are the main carriers you'll find over here. United has these gates over here, Delta has these gates, and Spirit has some gates here at the end as well. I might have misspoke on some of that, so I apologize if I did. But anyway, here's the A gate over here where Breeze parked. This was off the Breeze inaugural from Tulsa that unfortunately has since been discontinued, but pretty cool to just see how nice the windows are. The windows are very good at this concourse. Here's a very good look at the inside. This is the pre-secure area here. They have a really interesting sequence of escalators, which is cool to connect the ground level with the ticket counters. So we'll see some of those in a moment. New Orleans is known for quite a wide array of cultures. You definitely get that southern hospitality, but you also will find a very rich music scene, really, especially that pop music, jazz type music. So you'll see a bunch of that integrated through here. You'll also see quite a bit of natural beauty as well with some of the, it stays green there pretty much year round. So you'll see a bunch of that going on too, though they did get a record snow this past year, which is crazy. I don't think ever snowed at the airport till then. So sure, that was an operational mess. This is the view off the relatively new parking garage of the north-south runway. What they do for the most part, it appears to me that it depends on the flow, but very often they'll land and take off depending on the flow on this runway over here, and then they'll also, depending on the flow, take off or land on this runway. It's usually one or the other. So for example, land right here, take off right here, land right here, take off right here is kind of what will happen from time to time. You'll also notice some reminiscence from previous actions at the airport. There was some military at some point, I believe. So this is a crosswind runway that was once a present. FedEx has their ramp down here. DHL and UPS, I believe, park here. This is the signature FBO, General Aviation area. This is the big FBO at the airport, so that's where most of those aircraft will go to. Otherwise, not too much. Breeze Airways will park some aircraft here by the old terminal now, and this is a good, use, just the park planes, but they didn't, save any of the jet bridges or much of the actual facility. It is currently still standing with its old parking garage here. There was rental cars and all that down here, of course, that has since moved over to up here, as we'll discuss in a moment. Really great identification by the airport, by the way, for having this area ready for this. This was really helpful, but I'm expecting this to probably be demoed at some point, and maybe they can put more. I don't know if they want to put cargo ramp down here or what they want to do, but I definitely would expect this area to be used in the long term for hangar development. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Hangar development or whatever they may choose to do down here. But up here, as you can tell, the main facility does have a new economy lot, I believe, here, and then 2 parking garages. One's probably economy. This one was the one where we're spotting off of that picture, was right here on this corner. Great view of this runway. It's nice and close. It's a really good view. And then you also can see the takeoffs right here, though lighting most of the year is backlit or side lit, so not great for photography on sunny days, but this runway is great in the afternoon from here. There are spots to get pictures at New Orleans. It's not the easiest airport, but this parking garage might be the best spot at the airport. But yeah, the loop right here, just really well thought out. Let's look at this picture again. So this is actually the long-term parking garage and the short-term. Then we have a surface area parking lot here is the correct designation. We also have a rideshare staging area up here on the top, which is nice. You definitely want to see that. So all that looks really cool. Okay, so there's that view once again. Again, really well thought out by the airport. This was really smart. Here's the arrival and departures board. This is from 2023, and I really like comparing all these different boards because some of them, as you can tell, show the dates and whatever. This one does not, but shows the time. See that Tulsa arrival right there on Breeze. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So Silver did fly here as well, so definitely a bummer to see them gone, but unfortunately that's the reality of the situation. But yeah, you see a bunch of Southwest and Spirit really was kicking at this time. This was on a Friday, so that was a big explanation, but you can see multiple Las Vegas flights, Houston. I'm pretty sure it's been reduced substantially since this image, but anyway, the rest of this is really valid. Southwest has a bunch of those flights to this day. This was in September of 2023, by the way, to be particular. United has multiple mainline offerings. Our particular flight on this day was this 717 departure. But yeah, you can also see, Newark is mainline. That's really cool. You got Austin service on here on Southwest, now Delta doing that multiple times a day. Denver, Fort Lauderdale, all the hubs, and then Breeze will do a couple of these Raleigh, Durhams, and Pittsburghs, which is great. And then otherwise, yeah, Spirit making their moves as well. So overall, looking quite cool, and definitely nice to see that. And yeah, great advertising as well. They're really diligent on that. So definitely a big money maker for the airport. Yeah, the windows, like I said, are just really nice. Here's some B gates. These are the ones on the side here, and you can see kind of what the operation looks like taxiing out. They have multiple heavy hybrid gates here at the airport, which is nice. And Southwest, like I said, has a very large market share here. They've done really good at New Orleans, which is awesome. water dispensers, you know, really great wall infrastructure, some unique lighting aspects. They really, well, the architects really did a great job thinking out the design of this building. It looks really cool. This is a really good example here. Here's Southwest gates on the other side of the concourse. This is closer to those C gates. Yeah, you can just really tell there's a good variety of vendors. The advertising is really good. It's a unique design. You don't normally have a area elevated like this and then a lower level at this day and age. So I think this is cool. The tile, it's a carpet gradient. It's also pretty cool. Not what you see every day. So that's really cool. Here's a wide angle shot here. And here, JetBlue actually does park on C. I'm sorry. But anyway, as you can see, the C gates right here, these are the B gates. And you can just see kind of how it's structured and what it looks like. So it looks really nice. That's for sure. So very happy with the effort to get those shots. United actually does have a United Club here, thanks to the large mainline presence and many mainline services a day, the George Bush and so forth. So it is really cool that United was opted for this, and I think this is a good choice long term for the airline. So that's certainly nice to see. I think it's actually in this downstairs little area. It's not a large one, of course, but it's definitely really nice to have. There was our mainline service to Houston that day. It was on the A320. And here's a really good look over the A gates, and you can see the Southwest gates over here as well, and there's an American plane in the corner. So Southwest is a very large establishment, quite a few flights. I don't have this isn't the greatest shot of it, but I opted not to show pictures of the inside of the old facility because of how atrocious it is. Where's the control tower? I think it's the old one. I think they also redid that. I might be wrong. But here's the building. It was a wreck. It was really bad. You can look at pictures online. It was done. So I'm glad that they were able to just build a new one. Definitely really made sense. But they just left all the jet bridges and all of it over there. It's literally an area that could be a working facility, granted with many hiccups, but that is the truth of the matter. These are the unique escalators I was talking about earlier. They look pretty cool, so that's definitely a unique aspect to this. And there's some more that, you know, nature-inspired design. This is more typical out here with the columns and whatnot for what you'd see in an airport now. Just a very simple design with subtle mood lighting. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised that the inside is so much more defined, if you will, very unique. And this, I think, is the last image here. You have the drop-off zones, which is nice, numbered. And then you have live music very often at this airport. That is a very common theme. You also have some NASA exhibits and other ways to really get the local mood going. So New Orleans is a really cool airport. I definitely want to hear what you all think in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever been to New Orleans, what you think about the new terminal facility. And I did not think this went on 17 minutes. My goodness. We had an assessment to provide here today of New Orleans. So let me go ahead real quick and give you all a little bit of an update on the real life videos and so forth, because if you made it this point, you're probably one of my most loyal viewers, which I greatly appreciate all of you very much. So I am so sorry about the delay of these videos and all the real life videos altogether. To be completely honest, there's been several reasons for this. I would say the primary reason is just simply an abundance of activities and commitments. I was not expecting to be working this fall, and that was an abrupt opportunity that I would have been dumb not to take advantage of. That said, that really ate into my opportunity to get these videos back to the smooth and consistent, you know, obviously routine that I have been accustomed to over time. So that is the biggest factor. So I'm super sorry about that. Unfortunately, we are recovering now. Number two as well, I unfortunately had a computer hiccup. My hard drive completely busted on my internal drive on my previous computer in May, and this video was already filmed as an example for how big of a deal that was. So I'm very sorry about that. It's took a long time to get back in the area where I've been able to, you know, recover from that. And fortunately, I have a new plan in place to prevent that. I'm heavily using OneDrive and Google Drives, so this will be helpful and not, you know, obviously having issues with that. So I'm so sorry about that. Fortunately, we have recovered to this point, and that was another contributing factor. The last one of major note, and, you know, obviously I want to be very mindful with you all, the viewers, and what you all enjoy. But the last major factor is simply that the model videos have been more popular. There is no denying that. And I obviously want to put my best foot forward and, you know, provide content that you all want to see. And obviously the numbers support more model videos. So I talked about that previously, making more model videos. And that's no excuse for why these haven't still came out. There's no reason why I can't double upload and so forth. Now, here in September of 2025, when this is getting filmed, the algorithm has been really rough. So I purposely have been seeing if that would balance itself out. It does not. So I'm going to go ahead and expedite some of the real life videos and get a little bit more caught up here. I would like to be only 2 years behind. I'm currently 2 years and 5 days behind. So my goal is hopefully that by the time we continue to progress by the end of the fall here, that we will be in a better place. I do have some upcoming free weekends, so I'm going to work diligently to get some content prepared in that regard. So I think that will be very helpful. And additionally, to go along with what I said, I do want to balance it out. I know all of you really enjoy the model videos, but there's still no reason why we're not going to share these real life videos. They're still really helpful. And some of these airport videos have actually been very successful. All that's concluded and said, I'm definitely really excited to get back on the consistent groove of these real life videos, including the airport videos. So once again, I'm so sorry that it took so long for this to happen. Just a combination of factors. There's also been some personal situations going on that I do not want to discuss at this time, just for the sake of privacy, that have been challenging and have costed my schedule a substantial amount of time in September of 2025. So that also is a contributing factor. And at some point later on, if it's the right opportunity, I will discuss that. But at this time, you just know that that was another contributing factor that did take a substantial amount of time that was out of my control, and it was family related. So I needed to be there for my family at that time. So that's exactly what I was doing. So anyway, I really hope all of you enjoyed this, and I'm super excited for what's ahead with these airport videos. They're really fun to make, and I'm so glad you all enjoy them. Next up will be the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. It is a very cool airport in many ways. They have quite a bit of cool aviation going on there, so we'll discuss that, and then we'll be on to, I believe, Dulles, which will be fun. So excited about that, and I hope all of you are as well. And with that said, that'll do it for today's video. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Trust the process. Do you love and love you? Do my name is CM Aviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon, as CM Aviation is signing off.